Wow, now that we've damned part of the country,
that's actually pretty par for the course.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love we love TV movies and superheroes.
Oh, man. Specifically TV movies?
Yeah, let's talk. What is it? I can't remember the last time I've seen a TV movie. Anyway, let's talk it out. This is what happens when we don't record on a Sunday and it's on a Monday. My whole brain's a whole day off.
He is. Well, my name is Chris Dillard. Can you handle this part?
Yeah, my name's Mike Royer.
And this week we've gotten our first teaser for the long-awaited Eternals.
Finally. It's
Feels like
7 days old. It's 7 days old for us now.
I know.
I forgot that we were going to be talking about it today.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Spider-Man's universe is starting to fill out.
Whether
Maybe
you like it or not.
Stretch it into seams, I think, already, if you will. You can get James Bond in 2 days with free shipping.
Oh, that's nice.
And more. This is not a promotion. We are not selling James Bond. Please don't try to buy it on Amazon, but they are buying MGM. We'll talk about this later.
That just reminds me of my brother was a huge media collector. Even before DVDs, he was collecting VHSs, and just before the DVD revolution kind of took off and everything converted from VHS to DVD, he had just spent a solid chunk of change for a teenager at the time on the James Bond VHS box set, and that thing was imposing size-wise and also quantity-wise, because really you only have to subtract maybe 5 movies from the big list now, and that's how many there was back then. Yeah, this big old VHS just compendium on the shelf. It looked very, very cool, very, very nice box set, and then I swear 1 season later everything was moving the DVD, and he just looked at it I'm an idiot. If only I waited a little bit more. So if you're going to order it, I suppose maybe I would say digitally to future-proof yourself, but who knows where that MGM catalog's going to go and if that digital rights is going to follow or what the hell's happening.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they've done a 4K upscale of everything, but I remember when I was doing my James Bond watch through a couple of years ago, it was all on Amazon there too. So they've got a good working relationship with it. Wherever you can stream it at, that's fine with me. I'll take it. I was gonna say, you made me think of that. That was 20 Bond movies. Imagine if we had all 23 Marvel movies on VHS right now, Mike.
Oh man, somebody has to have put that together, right? kind of de-aged the art direction on all of these things.
Downscaled it.
There's so many fan-made posters out there for Marvel. I'd love to see somebody kind of interpret that in a 90s way. I know people have done 90s casting of who would they have cast in the 90s, for Iron Man. Yeah. And it's no, I want to see the same actors, but I want to see it if they had to make a VHS cassette for it. That would be a cool piece of memorabilia. I would not have room to display 20 plus of those, but it would be kind of cool to maybe get the Infinity War and Endgame. What would that 2 side-by-side box set look like? That would be cool.
Yeah, I agree. That would be really fun to see. So the question is, do you get the widescreen or do you get the pan and scan versions?
Ooh, I don't know. Zack Snyder has his opinion for sure, but I think I would go widescreen.
Yeah. I'm thinking pan and scan myself. But, who am I? Yeah. So we got a lot of news this week. We are, happy Memorial Day. I guess happy is the bad word to term here. But welcome to Memorial Day. We're recording here on Monday, so we're gonna have a short week on our next one, but we have a long week, a lot of news here coming up on this. And I was able to do this as we mentioned last week. I have now moved. I'm in a new location. Mike has seen my recording setup, as temporary as it is. So we're very excited to be recording here. But we got a lot of news to kind of cut through here. But that did not stop us both from catching new stuff with what we're watching.
Yes, and also slightly renaming this segment again to What We're Watching, TM/lightning round registered trademark. We're going to try to breeze through these a little bit quicker because we know what you really want is you want to catch up on the news. So we'll give you kind of the hits of what we've been watching. That's what we decided on, right, Chris?
Oh yeah, the hits. This is it. The top ones we've been watching because if it was everything, it would probably be a much longer list, right? So, so you've caught up here. We both actually brand new movies this weekend. We're both able to watch new movies this weekend. Mm-hmm. You caught probably on Disney Plus Cruella. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, actually, let's see. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to mention. I'll mention them very quickly, but they're all relatively new. So right off the top of the bat, Cruella, surprise, surprise, Mike watched a live-action Disney movie that's slightly off of the beaten path, as in it's not a remake. It's like a prequel / who knows if they'll change the direction of the narrative down the line or if there'll even be another one. But I went in with incredibly low expectations, and I was thoroughly entertained. Like I was in a backyard kind of movie theater setting for this one, so I got reactions from some other people around me. There were some people that were really into like fashion and costume design there that were really digging the movie. I loved the little chihuahua with the eye patch that was called Wink. I felt like that was my favorite part of the film, but overall I was very, very surprised. Nothing upset me in this film, and I think I would watch a sequel, Chris, which I think is pretty exciting because we got to get to 101 Dalmatians eventually because Disney wants that money. They'll remake that one because I think some people are thinking like, oh, is this a prequel for the animated movie? It's like, oh, no. They're going to remake that animated movie. This is going to be a whole new Cruella trilogy. But that was Cruella. On to the next one. We got a brand new stand-up, I guess, quote-unquote stand-up special from Bo Burnham on Netflix called Bo Burnham Inside, and it is fantastic. It's just a new special that he made in his additional dwelling unit, which is basically kind of like a little studio refinished shed in his backyard. And he shot the whole thing in there, and it just looks like this tiny little room. He did all of the production, all of the shooting, all of the editing. It's just basically a dude in a room with just a bunch of AV equipment, doing songs and like telling jokes and, getting real, if you will, being stuck inside. It's really, really funny, really, really insightful.
And he started his career as an internet kind of YouTuber, comedian, songwriter thing. So I bet he felt right at home doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was great. We just watched it this morning. It was fascinating. Set aside some time and watch it. You'll have some fun and you'll have some thoughts as well.
Where's that at?
Over on Netflix.
Okay, got it.
Yes. And then if you head on over to HBO Max, I'll get these two things out here in a row. The Friends reunion just dropped, and if I would recommend it for sure if you're a fan of Friends. If you don't really have any sort of attachment to the show, I don't know exactly what you're going to get out of it, but it was fun seeing the cast come back, reacting to the sets, doing some reenactments of some popular scenes. They surprisingly got some really big celebrities to show up for very, very small cameos that kind of felt beneath them. So it was just interesting to see Justin Bieber do a catwalk in a Friends costume. And then he was just off. It's like he set his whole day aside to come do this thing, and I'm sure he could do a lot more things with the type of access that he has out there in the world. So just shows you the weight and power that Friends has out there over people. And then also on HBO Max, there's a brand new show called Hacks. It's really, really funny. It's kind of about like a washed up Vegas comedian that's trying to revitalize her career, so she like teams up with like this plucky kind of abrasive writer from Hollywood, and it's just really, really funny. It's just really well written. It's a good story. So there's 6 episodes out there of Hacks right now. I don't know if there's going to be 8 or 10 episodes in this season, but you should hop on right now and start binging Hacks. Really, really funny. Highly recommend it. And I'll end my what we're watching lightning round for myself by saying we finally caught up enough in Smallville where they finally introduced another superhero, Bart Allen, the Flash. And it was just very fun to watch because I like to think what it was like watching Smallville live back in the day, right? When there was nothing quite like this show on air, and you just like sit down as like a DC nerd. All you really have is this show to watch, and then the episode is like a Thursday night. It's premiering, and you're just like, holy crap, is that a backpack with a lightning bolt on it? Oh, this kid's moving fast. Holy crap, The Flash on TV. I haven't seen this in a very, very long time. So it's really, really cool to see that. So that's what I've been watching, Chris. That's what I did last week.
What season are you in Smallville?
Season 4. I'm just kind of at the beginning.
Okay, because I remember the again, as any show goes on, right, life expectancy ebbs and flows to that. So it's good to know, you know, season 4 they started kind of throwing in other characters. Now, I believe you may correct me. Was that written by Stephen DeKnight?
That specific episode, I don't know, but his name often pops up in the credits.
Yeah. Well, there's also one by Jeff Loeb in that season and him. That's why I was kind of being
gotcha.
Like,
okay.
I'm like, oh, is this the downfall of the show?
They did a very, very good job with that episode specifically, like, you know, giving some characterizations to Bart. Now, in the comic books, Bart Allen is technically from like the future, and usually like when you see him in like the animated like Young Justice stuff, he had like come back in time or something of those variations. They don't specifically say that in Smallville, but they kind of make a one-off joke about it, so you don't really know if it's true or not. So they're having some fun with it. So I'm having a good time still. Well,
that's good. That's good. It'll be fun. Let me know. You'll have to let me know when you get to the Jeff Loeb one.
Okay.
In that season, because I want to know what your thoughts are about that. So. On the flip side of that, Mike, you were watching an outdoor movie theater experience. I was able, luckily, to return to the movie theaters this weekend.
Oh, look at that. That's why it's not called the Quarren Stream anymore. You can't Quarren Stream and go to a movie theater.
No. I was asked by a couple friends here. One of them actually saw it by himself beforehand. The other one was like, Chris, do you want to go see A Quiet Place Part 2 in theaters? And I sat and I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I've got both vaccinations. You know, the theaters are still doing spacing between people. You know, not as much as they used to, but they did. So I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's try it out. I've been busting my hump here, trying to get this house in order. I could use a break, or I'm going to go crazy. So I was able to go see Quiet Place Part 2, and this movie, again, if you've seen the first one, you kind of know what happens, right? There are creatures that are very, very susceptible to sound, and you know, if you make any sound, they can find you and will attack, pretty much. What's cool about this one is was supposed to release, I believe, early 2020, right? March.
Oh, yeah. That was the billboard that lingered for the pandemic.
Yeah, so this has been sitting for a while. What's cool about this is it actually picks up the day after the first one ends. Which is cool. There's no time passage. Like, they don't try to make up for this because this movie's been done. They didn't go back and refilm, like, oh, this has now been an extra year or two. Like, it really picks up where the first one ends. And it's cool. And, it's got some where the first one is kind of like more of like one story about one family. This actually kind of opens up the world a little bit and has some diverging paths. I think it's cool on where it builds the world and how it builds some of the characters. I'm not overly thrilled. I have more, like, I guess what's cool about this is I have more questions than I got answers, and that means it's a compelling world, but give me the damn answers, man. Like, I want to see more of this. So I think if you like the first one, you will definitely like this one. The first one's very innovative in what it did and how it played with sound. This one does the same thing in some new exciting ways, but I don't think it's, you know, when you expand a world, it's not necessarily, you know, better than the first one. So I think it's good. I don't think it's the best movie. It is the best movie I've seen in theaters this year. I'll tell you that. But it's one for one. But I'd recommend if you like the first one. But if you don't want to go to the theaters, this is easily something you can catch at home. I did watch the first one at home myself, Mike. I don't know if you went to the theater. So, yeah.
Yeah. It was in the backyard for Cruella. It was kind of a movie theater experience. There was a projector there.
Well, I meant, did you see the first Quiet Place in theaters? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. That was actually a really important decision of would this be a movie I would want to watch at home, because the movie theater experience was great. I was in a full movie theater for the first one, and it was just amazing to hear a very, very quiet movie, but then also the audience would just like is silent because they're just gripped by it. So hopefully I can achieve that again with part 2.
Yeah. I ended up watching the first one at home and this one in the theater, so it was cool. It was very empty. I'm gonna be at some very empty theater, so did not feel too bad for that. Let's jump into this. It's been a long time since we did the show. It feels like forever, but it's only been 7 days. The first thing that dropped on Monday morning was a damn Eternals trailer.
This keeps happening. I feel like we have to change when we record the podcast now, because like, why is Monday the day that this stuff drops? I mean, I know the answer. They want a full week of news coverage, right? But it's like, come on, give us like a heads up or something.
Is it though? Like, because like most people have forgotten about it by the time they got to this weekend. Like, even I'd be like, oh yeah, we had Eternals this week. But yeah, it feels like it. But we had our first teaser trailer for this upcoming film, and as with any teaser trailer, this does not give us any of the story at all. Looks to be like a couple action shots, a couple character introductions, because there are at least 10 characters going on here.
Would I dare to say they were trying to tease us, Chris, and not give us everything?
So they definitely did. So they've been sitting on this for a while. We got our first little glimpse. What was it during that Marvel Studios Back to the Theaters thing a couple weeks ago?
It was like 2 shots that lasted like 2 seconds.
Yeah. So we got this. Definitely playing with they've been here thousands of years, right? It shows off with it looks like maybe an invisibility cloaked ship. All of them looking at I guess maybe some underdeveloped people. So they're gonna come into this world and kind of go along the way. But it looks like the characters also. I don't know whether there's a comic I read where they forgot their memories over the centuries because of someone played it did something to them, and they kept reuniting. And it looks like the main character played by Richard Madden, Ikaris, and Gemma Chan's Sersi meet at multiple times through multiple decades as well. So. Yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say there? Because this is your first Eternals experience.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this crew, and I'm totally okay with that to go in blind. But I kind of got almost Star Trek exploration vibes from the narration that they gave us in this trailer. Like, oh, we've been here, we haven't interfered, but now we feel like we have to. So I'm kind of curious what motivates them to kind of go from just watchers to doers. It kind of looks like they may have landed in maybe more of like a Middle Eastern settlement. It doesn't look like North America. It doesn't look like a tropical environment. Really, it looks very arid. So curious to see what storytelling elements they'll bring in that way. I'm on official MCU creature watch now, Chris. Yes. Every time I'm watching anything, I'm looking for creatures, and we got a quick glimpse of a creature in this trailer with a really, really cool shot where they show a quick clip of Kumail Nanjiani doing his probably filming a Bollywood type movie, because it was a very elaborate set of costumes and dancing, and then it cuts to him doing a Tokyo drift slide underneath some sort of 4-legged morphing creature, and then he pulls out the spirit gun from Yu Yu Hakusho on his finger. So I don't know if that's that character's type of way he fights. I don't know if he expels energy out of certain appendages or fingers, but I was that was a pretty cool shot. But I was that's a creature, but how much of a creature is it? Because it looked like it was fluxing and moving around and kind of transforming. So I don't know if it's some sort of magic or if it's some sort of a shape-shifting metamorphous alien. Yeah, what do you got on your clipboard, Chris?
That's called a deviant. So the opposite of an Eternal is a deviant. A deviant is a genetic, quote-unquote, deviant that's constantly trying to evolve, and his genes are causing more variance and becoming these they're evil. They're inherently evil, evolving characters. So you're right in the evolving sense. It may not have been evolving on the fly, but it's very much a very fluid, gooey kind of creature-looking thing. And the deviants, they come in the shapes, and they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors, if you will, about that. And you kind of see, like you said, a very blink and you'll miss it deviant, and it looks to be a dark forest where one of the other characters, Druig, played by Keoghan, is. So we can kind of go through the characters here in a minute. But yes, you're very much right. That was and all the actual Eternals have similar power sets in terms of how they fight with the energy blasting and stuff like that. But they kind of have one thing they specifically focus on, if you will.
Yeah, I 2 things I took out of this trailer was, one, I don't know if they necessarily nailed the art direction, because I don't really know how it's going to look when it's fully executed, but they did pick a direction. You can tell all of these Eternals have very similar costumes. They're from the same area. They manipulate or are using some sort of energy in the same way. It gave me kind of Doctor Strange feelings of just okay, before we sit down and make this Doctor Strange movie, we need to set up some sort of visual language, so when a sorcerer is using magic, they can all have their kind of unique take on it, but let's have kind of a through line for visually how it looks. And they've done the same thing here, which I think will eventually be really cool, because it seems like an Eternal will butt up with a sorcerer at some point in time in the MCU. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see those 2 things clash.
If they did not actually meet with a sorcerer maybe in the past, maybe they helped do the Eye of Agamotto.
Yeah, that could be true. And I also really dug the music that they picked for it. It felt very cinematic. We didn't kind of get those typical like boom noises that I feel like every movie trailer has had for like the last decade. A lot of people I saw on the internet was just like, "Oh wow, Marvel's really I guess not. They are pulling punches here because this is directed by an Academy Award winner, and they didn't put it anywhere on the trailer. So it makes me think I will expect to maybe see that on the full trailer debut of just like directed by Academy Award winner.
Not saying that is bad, but I believe she didn't win her award until this year, and this trailer could have been sitting in storage.
That could be a possibility.
Not saying they couldn't go and add it in there, but
yeah. So I was really vibing on the trailer. We don't know much here. It kind of ended on a little funny Marvel-esque stinger. We do have confirmation that they know of the Avengers, that they are prominent enough in their kind of view that they should be knowing them and keeping track of them.
And what that kind of makes it. I was talking with someone about that. How that makes that a very cool moment that the Eternals essentially are relatable to the audience at that point, right? Like, everyone's like, well, where were they during all these battles? I'm like, most of the big battle for Thanos took place in like an hour kind of thing, like, right? Like in Endgame. Or maybe they were dusted. I don't know. Like, why didn't they interact? But I'm like, well, they're watchers essentially. They watch. They're not supposed to have a heavy hand in this.
I am kind of liking, maybe this will be more of an opinion that moves forward in the MCU, where these people from outside of Earth, right? Like when these cosmic people talk about Earth, or when these visitors come to Earth, like they think it's like not a very special planet, but all of a sudden, just over the last couple years, this scrappy kind of group of heroes have been able to put themselves together and become so powerful, but that now Earth is on the global stage now, which could be good or could be bad moving forward. I mean, like if you take down Thanos, the Titan that wiped out half of the universe, everyone's going to look at you now. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see a similar type of conversation that happens in like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. They're just like at like a space bar or something. And then there's like some aliens just like talking about, oh, you see what those Earthlings did? That's pretty crazy. Well, they'll write something better than that. But
the thing about that is it seems like they would have known that from the end of Endgame rather than from the beginning of Endgame, not the end, because they know, again, Thor, who is a cosmic being, took off Thanos' head, and Captain Marvel has literally been in space helping people for like the past 5 years. So I think you're right. We'll hear a little bit more of that.
Maybe that's what triggers them to say now they are going to finally start interfering. It's kind of hard to tell because, like you said, the trailer does jump around in time a little bit. So who knows if they finally decide to start dipping their toe in humanity after the blip, or maybe it happened a lot sooner and it's just a story that most people on Earth just don't know about, and we're starting to see it. So a lot of mystery that I'm sure we'll get a little bit more out of the first full-length trailer.
And one of the other things is that Thanos is technically a half deviant Titan, so he has ties to these characters. So they may have brought him out, but there are 10. There are 10 Eternal characters. It was really funny. My wife asked me, she's like, "Oh, do I know anyone in this movie other than Jon Snow?" And I'm like, "Did you watch the trailer?" She's like, why? I'm like, okay, well, first off, Angelina Jolie is in there, right? The Tomb Raider herself is as the warrior Thena, and she can create weapons out of her cosmic energy. That's her like special ability, because you kind of see her making a sword at one point. Richard Madison, the other Stark brother from the Red Wedding, is the all-powerful Ikaris. Ikaris is the main like leader of the Eternals usually, and he's like very much just a warrior of all, like one of the best warriors overall in the team. Kit Harington is Dane Whitman, who is actually a human. He is not an Eternal, just so anyone is confused. Dane Whitman is known as the Black Knight in the comic books, so there may be some tie-in with that history there. Barry Keoghan is known as Druig. Druig has the ability to control people's minds. You saw people with shotguns in this trailer. They all had white eyes. They all think Druig has kind of gone off on his own. He's also known as like the ambiguous bad guy, kind of like the Loki of this group.
He really has that look to him.
Yeah, he really reminds me of who's the guy who plays the Flash in the movies, and he was in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, Ezra Miller.
He looks like Ezra Miller, like if you look at him, and he's got that Ezra Miller in the Harry Potter franchise, Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
That Gemma Chan is the humankind-loving Sersi. She's very, very empathic with people in the people world, so she lives among them. Gemma Chan has also been in Captain Marvel. She was the blue, the Kree on the team who was blue, who had it out for Captain Marvel. You remember her? Mm-hmm. Okay, so she's been in Marvel. So they thought we would notice, but we did. Kumail Nanjiani, of course, who we talk about the most, is the cosmic powered Kingo. He loves fame. He actually has a videographer following him around everywhere, and you kind of see him in a couple of the shots of the trailer. They're like, is that camera guy part of Marvel? Like, no, he's literally in the movie. Selma Hayek, also a wise and spiritual leader, Ajak. Ajak is the only Eternal who can actually speak the language of the Celestials, who made the Eternals. Lauren Ridloff is the super fast Makari. You see Makari kind of speed around a couple times in this. Like, she saves someone from a falling debris. But Lauren Ridloff is a deaf character, and Makari is a deaf person in the Celestial in the comic books. She runs so fast that her sonic booms would make a normal person mess up their hearing, but she was deaf anyway, so that's why she can run really fast like that. Brian Tyree Henry as the inventor Fastos. He's kind of like a tech inventor kind of person. We see him in there.
He's also a Paperboy in Atlanta. That's what I know him from.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe wasn't he also like in The Walking Dead at one point as well?
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Yeah, Leah McHugh is the eternally young old soul sprite. So she's the little girl, if you will, who asked about Captain Rogers and Iron Man. She is technically the same age as the other ones, but has been trapped in a child's body as punishment for something.
What a bummer.
Yeah, and then Don Lee is the powerful Gilgamesh, and I believe he is the one who's serving everyone around the table during that scene as well. So
okay,
Gilgamesh and Thena. They're not a couple, but they are have been in hiding together for a long time. So these are very, very generic characters. But you have everyone's like, oh, there's 5 people in the Guardians. How am I going to remember everybody? Well, there's 10 here. So good luck, people. We're gonna have a good time with this.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of them don't make it out of the movie, right? If you have a cast this big, if you want to make some stakes, kill them off.
Here's the fun fact: Eternals are Eternals because they can't die.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, someone will probably end up. My surprise would be there's actually more than 10 in the books. There's a lot more. So my surprise would be if someone oh my god, someone found a way to kill an Eternal thing. So
yeah, or they just peace out and nah, I'm going. I'm leaving this planet. You won't see me ever again.
Yeah, and I think during one of them they showed the Babylon village, and there was only 5 out front. So they may have I'm mad at you. I don't want to be in this movie. So. But anyway, Eternals coming this fall, Mike, November, I believe. We've got a long lineup of movies. So we've got Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Spider-Man this year alone. So it looks like the back half of this year's going to be super exciting, Mike. Very thrilled. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is coming next year. And the interesting thing with the writer of this, Michael Waldron, who also wrote Loki, said he's going to have to clean up messes he made with Loki in his Doctor Strange movie. So it definitely implies that there's going to be, after the Loki show, a lot of multiverses out there that we're going to be able to view and kind of delve into in Doctor Strange.
All right. Yeah. I feel like, that's really the next thing on our calendar, right? Loki coming up here in
a week from Wednesday.
Not very long, a week and a half or less. So I'm so excited to dip into that, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. I'm very excited to get in that. Great actor, great stuff. I want to see what they do. I think it has, of the 3 we have so far, I think it has the most potential to change the world as it is. And we know it because, again, WandaVision sets kind of the characters up going forward. Falcon Winter Soldier did the same, but Loki is technically dead in the MCU. So whatever he does here, they're going to have to either fix it or deal with it later in another film. So very excited for this. The What If series also coming out, that the producer is teasing plans for a Tesseract-powered Iron Man suit during the Captain Britain kind of thing. So when you see little Steve Rogers in World War II, his Iron Man suit is actually powered by the Tesseract / Cosmic Cube. So it looks like some of the other stuff has changed in that world as we know. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, give me some What If already, man. It's just I feel like they announced that. This is one of those things that they announced at the very, very early site of Disney Plus series, and I feel like we know the least about this one almost.
Yeah, and I think they've kind of been it's been fun with that because since every episode is kind of like a standalone, if you will. when we get to it. Hopefully, they probably won't give it to us in the binge model, but like I'm very excited to see more about that because zombies are coming. We actually have Chadwick Boseman's last performance in the MCU in there as Black Panther, T'Challa, Star-Lord. There's Party Thor. I've seen Doctor Strange. I'm very excited about the potentials here too. So maybe a trailer maybe after Loki's wrapped up or when Loki's airing, they're like, oh, now that Loki's airing, look forward to the next thing on Disney Plus. Speaking of shows on Disney Plus, Moon Knight, we have official confirmation from Oscar Isaac himself that he is Moon Knight. We've known about it through trades and reporting. Marvel's never said it themselves until he shared this photo on his little production company. Was it Mad Gene Media, and it's him with Moon Knight saying we are Moon Knight. So very much it feels like the Venom kind of thing that Tom Hardy did, the We Are Venom. But it looks like the comic books they're using behind him shows him in his classic white hooded outfit, right, that they're using with the Widow's Peak hood. So looks like we'll be getting some of the classic stuff there. Anything else you want to pull out of this?
It's nice to have the official confirmation, but I feel like it had been so long since that kind of earlier news broke. I forgot it wasn't official, so I was like, all right, well, this is news to me. I guess they get another news cycle out of this casting.
Yeah. Well, they're also filming, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, so I bet we're going to see him in a suit outside somewhere. And they're like, oh, he's going to be on set, so we need to figure out how to make this announcement now. That way we're ahead of the game. But that's cool with me. On the other side of that, I think this is probably one of my most anticipated Disney Plus shows is Secret Invasion. And they've gone ahead by casting Christopher McDonald, who you might remember from eating pieces of shit for breakfast in Happy Gilmore, as a newly created character for this series.
He is also in that show I mentioned at the top, Hacks.
Yeah. Well, I saw that and I'm like, no one knows what that is, and you brought it up. I'm like, okay, we know what it is. But most people remember him as the anti-hero, the villain, I guess, if you will, Happy Gilmore.
Shooter McGavin, was that his name? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty fun. The newly created character, and they said the reports are that he has full plans for this character to cross over into other series and movies. So
he has full plans. Christopher McDonald himself has plans. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, it sounds like this character is not going to be like a one-off kind of thing for the show and then throw him away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends. Like Secret Invasion, at a lesser studio, right? I could see it just kind of being its own standalone series that they just kind of tell like an isolated story of, people pretending to be other people. And it's just, we have like a nice little fun time. But at Marvel, where, they like continuity and stories to spread like webs, like Secret Invasion seems like the perfect opportunity to be like, oh, we're going to start something with this and it's going to just extend to everything. Because that's the coolest thing about Secret Invasion is just like for the longest time, you didn't know that these people were, I guess, would they be Skrulls? But, like, if they were Skrulls, like, technically the Skrulls are good guys, so maybe some of them will be bad. I don't really know what direction they're going to go.
Well, I think it's the same way with the Kree. They're a good Kree and they're bad Kree, right? Like, I mean, like, I could see Marvel literally taking this and flipping on its head where I said, like, where the Kree have infiltrated the Earth because they have, like, the ones that look like Jude Law, like the pink skin Kree that aren't blue. And then, like, the Skrulls are like, well, we got to figure out who the Kree are. Or, there's a Skrull sect that, like, oh, we are, we have this ability to take over planets. We can do this and rebuild our population from the ground up.
Yeah, I think the big question with Secret Invasion is, are they going to pull off the big trick that they usually do in Secret Invasion storylines, where there's been one character that's been, an imposter the whole time, right? Like a big character, right? Like not what's her face from Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I can't remember. Some Sharon Carter.
Yeah, Sharon
like
Carter.
If that's the big reveal, like nobody's like, that's not a big enough reveal to really hang the whole Secret Invasion on. But like, I don't even remember what the time span was in the comic books. For the invasion to have theoretically been happening.
It was like 5 years because Nick Fury went underground for a while. But they found Spider-Woman was like the first one they found because she died and then there. But they've been replacing heroes for a while. Like Black Bolt was replaced. I believe Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, was replaced. Like they had a ton of people replaced.
Yeah, it does make you wonder how far they will go because like easier to pull off in a comic book, right, than with like real actors. So we'll see. I'm curious to see if they'll pull that off because that'll be the real magic trick.
Yeah, and again, Samuel Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn in the show already, returning as a role as it's not Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury, and I forget the Skrull's name already again. But,
Talos?
Talos. Yeah, he played it. I really like this character. He had a really good character. So hopefully they can do it and then give us something that maybe where we have to go back and look at the MCU a little differently. Like, oh, that person was not there the whole time. Because then they could bring back, I mean, if they killed someone off and they could really bring him back, or someone who's died somewhere, they could be like, oh, we can bring them back. But we'll see what that looks like. But speaking of Marvel Studios, I got 2 different reports here for you, Mike, from Marvel Studios. One is they push back 2 movies. Oh, my God. We don't know what these movies are called, so don't panic. It's nothing that we've announced. The October 7th, 2022 movie has been pushed back 1 year to October 6th, 2023. People think that this is the Blade movie. With the October month, they didn't announce it with their other movies at the teaser the other week, so they think that Blade is. But the other one is, oh my gosh, November 3rd to 2023 to November 10th, 2023. 1 whole week. But that's an untitled film as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about all the time about how the movie landscape has just totally changed over the years, where months are seemingly meaningless at this point in time, especially in this year, 2020. I wouldn't consider any movie coming out at 2021. Oh, wow, God. Yeah. I wouldn't consider any release date this year to be normal because they're just trying to fit them where they can get them. But once we get a little further away from 2021, 2022, 2023, you are kind of maybe looking at a somewhat normal landscape. So we haven't yet seen Marvel put anything out in October, like Marvel proper, right? Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
So that would be cool if Blade fit that month, you know.
Mm-hmm. And then the curious part is like literally a month later, 4 weeks, they're like, we're putting another one out. I'm like, that's, I mean, they're doing that this year kind of with Spider-Man, but that's also a Sony property in the Eternals. But I'm like, that's a short window turnaround. So
yeah. And that does make a little bit of sense of pushing their November or their following month movie another week, because it gives that other movie a little bit more runtime in the theaters.
Yeah, 4 weeks. What is the we say it's 45 days to streaming going forward, I think, with a lot of their movies. So
yeah, that sounds right.
So yeah, 45 days is almost a week or two after that. So yeah, it'll be out of the theater by then. The other thing is I believe the showrunner / writer, I can't remember, of WandaVision, Jack Schaefer, has signed a 3-year deal with Marvel and 20th Television to create and develop TV content for them.
That's cool. Yeah, I think technically what they call these people are not showrunners, but head writers. Because I think really, if you think about it, Kevin Feige, he is the showrunner. He is the guy that's kind of pulling all the strings at the very top. But yeah, that's cool. I wonder if this is kind of like one of those things where, like, okay, you've earned your original, right? Like, you've done us a solid with WandaVision. Like, now pull out one of those original scripts that you really, really like, and we'll see where we can put it.
So she was a showrunner for WandaVision officially. She's also wrote Captain Marvel and co-wrote Black Widow.
They've put in a lot of work.
Yeah, she's done her work with Marvel. She was also known for one of her big things was writing Olaf's Frozen Adventure in 2017. But honestly, after the praise that WandaVision got, I don't see that being a surprise really with her to work on TV stuff. They didn't announce any projects with it, which is usually what they do, so that's kind of interesting. But I'm sure there's some more secret Marvel projects they're working on they haven't told us yet. So keep an eye on that. Captain America 4, we have very little information about this, but the rumor right now is that the villain of this 4th Captain America movie is the Red Skull's daughter, Cynthia Schmidt, who's also known as Sin in the comic books. And it would make sense that I don't know if it's a daughter, maybe it's a granddaughter at this point. I mean, because the Red Skull died in the movie, and I don't know if his daughter would, she'd be 70 something by that point, 80. But they are doing an early casting for a Kate Mara type to play this character. So I think it's going to be some sort of lineage from the Red Skull, fighting the lineage of Captain America, if you will.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
If you have no idea who this character is, much like myself, and you do a very quick Google of the character, I did not see any fun-looking red skulled face that the Red Skull had. It was just looked more like a person like wearing red clothing with like evil-looking eyebrows. So I don't know if at any point in time in the comics if the face ever gets mutated or ends up looking weird, because that wouldn't be hereditary. Like the Red Skull's like face was like kind of melted off, kind of not really, but kind of. So I don't know if that would be hereditary, but I don't know if there'll be any sort of visual fun on her face if this is something that comes to the MCU.
So one of the series we read was called it had to do with hammers landing on Earth. shit. I forget what it's called.
What was that called? I do recall. I never got around to reading it, but I actually owned one of the issues for a while.
She was the person for that series. She caused the Hammers to come to Earth, trying to destroy everyone, and she got a hammer, and she had I just sent you an image, Mike, through text of what she looked like in that series.
Oh, I thought this was a screenshot of Vision for a second.
Yeah, no. So that when she became Sin with the hammer, she got a red face kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And I'm trying to think, what was that series called? Lord, what was it?
It's like on the tip of my tongue. I want to say it has like some sort of term that has to deal with like destruction or something, like not Ragnarok, but like I felt like it was called like, I don't know, destruction or something, or I don't know. Hammers are cool though, right? Everybody likes big old hammers.
Were cool. It didn't go off very well, but she did a. But she did get that look in a couple. She also has like a red mask. Sometimes she wears Fear Itself. It's called Fear Itself. That's Fear. It's
okay.
Yes. So yeah, she's also known to be leader of the Serpent Squad occasionally in the comic books as well. Yeah, they always joked about making a Captain America this Serpent Squad movie beforehand, so there's that. Anyway, Captain America 4 dealing with Sin, possibly. High rumor. I don't know if they're casting this early, but we'll see. Spider-Man No Way Home. This is what's going to make us want to record tomorrow, Mike. There's a rumored trailer for this tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow, come on. So we're actually finally recording on a Monday. Like, no. Yeah. Now you got around to recording on a Monday. We're going to put it on a Tuesday.
Yeah, they're working on our schedule here. Tom Holland's birthday is June 1st, which is the first reason they would release a trailer, right? The second thing is Sony Social is now fully Spider-Man instead of Venom, and that trailer's only been like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So everyone's like, they're definitely going to release a trailer tomorrow, or, if not, pretty close to it. So, I'd be prepared for us to come into talking about Spider-Man No Way Home next week.
Yeah, and since it's going to be a Sony cut trailer, right? It's Sony, I believe, that gets the cut on the trailer, whereas like Marvel gets to make the movie. So be prepared to like possibly not like the trailer, but the end film could be really good.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll hate the poster that comes along with it, because they've definitely done that before where we don't like the poster.
Well,
so,
I don't know what the new deal, again, after Endgame and the whole Spider-Man debacle where they renegotiate the deal, maybe we'll see something different, but I agree. Like, don't hold out for a whole lot here, but we are in for a treat if this is definitely merging universes for Spider-Man down the road. Though another rumor, this is, whip out your salt shaker, Mike, shake some salt on this, very, very rumored, is that Norman Osborn will lead the Sinister Six in this movie. And
we haven't even seen Norman Osborn
Well, this
yet.
is the Spider-Man 1 Norman Osborn. This is Willem Dafoe himself leading the Sinister Six. Is the rumor.
Okay. I guess supposedly he has been established if he comes from another universe, right?
So, but the Sinister Six will include the Green Goblin, Electro, and Doc Ock that we've seen, and possibly the Sandman, Rhino, and Lizard we've seen, but there's been no confirmation for the last three that we've talked about before.
I mean, this is going to be wild. I mean, whether or not the trailer is cut well or not, there's a very good chance that the film will be good, because the last two Spider-Man movies have been great. I've very much enjoyed them. They're probably in my top tier Marvel films. So I just always get very nervous, right? There's so much that could go wrong between these two studios. So I'm just always very nervous, and I feel like I can't quite breathe a sigh of relief until I actually see the movie.
I don't think Kevin Feige would release a movie he didn't want, even if it had Spider-Man in it,
I suppose.
So we'll see. But I think we're excited. Hopefully next week we'll be talking about this movie, Mike. So take all this with rumors. They could delay it. They could change it in a heartbeat. There's nothing hard and fast on the internet when you release a trailer. So, but if anything is to be believed, I would be like, oh, look at me, I'm Tom Holland, and I'm releasing a trailer for Spider-Man.
What an accent, Chris!
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, he's British. In case you didn't know it.
I really want you to cut that segment and have it open the show.
I will not do it. Well, next week. I'll do it next week.
Okay.
I'll record a better one where I'm not on the spot. But yes. Anyway, Spider-Man No Way Home coming out December of this year. Over on Sony, they're doing all sorts of stuff. Apparently, they're working on the Silk thing, the spinoff of Spider-Man. And this character will be very different from the comic book version. It will not be the one that's tied into Peter Parker being bitten by the same Spider-Man, but apparently This character has spent some time abroad doing field research and remote isolation before returning home to discover her family has disappeared. Her main motivation will be to find them, while also dealing with her overdeveloped sense of empathy that forces her to strongly feel the emotion of everyone's around her. What? So no spider powers, it sounds like.
Oh, God. I mean, obviously we could run with this and go crazy, but it does feel like something is being left out. I mean, I still am of the same opinion the last time we talked about this. This is just like a series that's just siloed off on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Like, the whole fun about comic books is when everybody gets to play together in the same sandbox, and it sounds like that's just really not going to happen with this show. So I don't really have many reasons to be excited for it.
Yeah, or I'm actually more excited that it doesn't, because then we don't have to deal with everything else over there at Sony. Hopefully, maybe they've just taken the title and some of the character, like a I guess the first layer off of it and kind of run with it. They're apparently looking at an 8-episode season on Amazon. Amazon has delivered some pretty good superhero content.
I don't know. I think Amazon still has the receipt, and they're going to return it because they just paid a lot of money for something else recently that we'll talk about. Yeah. But maybe there's a no returns policy.
Yeah, I fully expect this to come to fruition, sadly. So we'll buckle up and keep you guys posted on that one. On the other side of Sony's news, probably the biggest surprise announcement this week was that Aaron Taylor Johnson, known for playing Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, was cast as the lead in Sony's Kraven the Hunter, and will be in other multiple films as well.
Okie dokie.
So apparently they were looking at other actors, including, I believe, Brad Pitt and a couple other older ones, but they were convinced by his role in the upcoming Bullet Train that he's filming, the dailies that were coming in, that he could be an action star and lead this film. I don't know much about Bullet Train yet, but
I mean, I have no ill will towards Aaron Taylor Johnson. I just always think it's funny when an actor is cast in a superhero role to play a specific character. Everybody is always like rushing to the internet to find, like, is there anything remotely similar, image-wise, of what he's done in the past to kind of connect in the Kraven the Hunter. And like everyone was just kind of sharing this picture of him in like a beard and a mustache to be like, oh look, he could visually look like Kraven the Hunter. I could see it. I wasn't expecting the character to maybe be cast so young, but maybe I just perceive him as young, and he could really play somebody up larger. I think the biggest thing is here, I could see the ripcord being pulled on this movie so fast if Morbius just like flops, right? Because they're supposedly supposed to be building like this anti-hero universe, right? But I mean, like, if like half of these characters just have shit movies, like, no one's gonna care.
Well, the problem is Morbius has Jared Leto, and people will flock to see him in a movie no matter what the movie is. So I think they're gonna look at the dollar signs for that one. I think this is more, even if Morbius flops and they never do another Morbius again, which is fine with me, because I think that's a pet project again of Jared Leto, that Aaron Taylor Johnson probably wouldn't sign for something he didn't believe in. I don't know what the script is, but the script has been written by J.C. Chandor, who has been tapped to direct it, with the screenplay from Art Markham and Matt Holloway, who worked on Iron Man and the Uncharted movie, and Richard Wink, who's worked on action movies like The Equalizer and Jack Reacher Never Go Back. So I expect this to essentially be I don't know, like a generic action movie at its core, if you will. With some, superhero / video game elements tied into it from the other guys. They've even given this a release date, which I think was the biggest thing, of January 13th, 2023. So I feel like maybe they're a lot farther along than we think.
I feel like if this is a Kraven the Hunter movie, it doesn't make sense that the first thing he would be hunting on his first screen appearance would be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going to be hunting down one of the other villains from like the Sinister Six, and maybe that's
kills
how
Morbius.
He'll be introduced.
That's how they do it. Morbius flops. Morbius is the
there's two versions of the script, right? There's one where Morbius lives and one where Jared Leto doesn't. Yeah. They're just waiting to see how it does at the box office.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I don't think him is necessarily, is he a established person in this world? Are we going to get an origin film of like, how did he become notorious for being a hunter? Is he hunting something in particular, or is he being hunted? I don't know. There's a lot of questions here.
Yeah, I mean, if the Snyderverse has taught us anything, it doesn't matter how much money and how many projects make it out of the gate into the movie theaters. A cinematic universe can be canceled at any time, right? So even though Venom did well and there's a second one coming out, I can still very fully see this not coming to an end like how they want it to, like, a logical conclusion of getting them all together. So you will never feel safe if you if you end up liking this franchise. Like, just cross your fingers that it ends up finishing.
Well, the other thing is, I think your thing about Snyder is completely off base, because a lot of those characters still made it out, like Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
Well, I'm saying more of a, like, financial commitment wise, right? Like, you would think if you went back in time before all of this Snyder stuff happened and said, like, oh, Warner Brothers is going to spend how much on all this stuff, and then it's just all going to get kind of canned, and they're going to try to pivot and go in a different direction. Like, it's just the financial commitment. Well, they will pivot whenever they need to pivot.
Right, but not all of it was canned. I think, there could be, again, if Sony wants to put them together, there was no statement of them putting it together here with this one. But if they wanted to or did want to, they could be like, well, we still have a Kraven movie and franchise we can keep going with. But again, he is known for literally hunting Spider-Man, with Kraven's Last Hunt being one of the best comics of the 90s, if you will, for that character. So hopefully they can eventually do it and do it right, but I'm not holding my breath for them by any long shot. Just like the Joker movie, I'm gonna go into this. I got a rumor here too. I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about. But the Joker, Todd Phillips is set to kind of co-write the Joker 2, the sequel to the billion-dollar R-rated Joker film that people like. We're still waiting on more official announcements, but there was a rumor. I'm just gonna hear that
I know what you're gonna say, Chris. This is very weird.
They couldn't decide on how many Jokers to have in this next movie, whether it was 3 or 4.
Which is shocking news on its face, because like we didn't know multiple Jokers were up for debate. I think everyone just thought it was just going to be Joaquin Phoenix, right?
Yeah, like there is a Joker. There's usually one Joker at a time now. Well, there was a recently book called The Three Jokers, but it didn't make any sense. People weren't happy with it. So I don't know why they go down the same route to have more Jokers in this.
It is really strange since, Todd Phillips is kind of returning to this movie. What, I feel like a lot of people have their opinions about the Joker. I really enjoyed and I liked the movie, right? I think maybe most people's ire is that they feel like we didn't need a sequel. They kind of, one and done, you did a really good job with that story. Let's move on. But if they're talking about possibly bringing in other Jokers, it sounds like they're really going to do like a multiverse Flashpoint kind of crazy wackadoo scenario, right? I mean, how else would you explain other Jokers popping up in Todd Phillips' Joker 2? I mean, this is one tool. This is a way how to get Joaquin Phoenix very successful Joker into more of a mainstream futuristic, up-to-date timeline, but that's the last thing I expected from this character, from the kind of world that they created in the first one.
Well, I mean, what other villain would you want for a Joker movie than the hero to be the Joker and the villain also be a Joker, Mike? I mean,
well, it's the only way you can make a likable villain, right? You just have to make a more likable villainy villain.
Do they go down the alien route and just call this one Jokers?
Jokers. I love it.
So yeah, I don't love it at all. I'm not. I sit on the less than 50% side of the first one. But I mean, if they can have some fun with it and make it more, again, comic booky, more like his villain from there, or his personality from the comic books, I'd be more happy. I mean, so maybe one of them is that version.
I mean, that's the craziest part about it, right? The Jokers, the on-screen Jokers, even like the animated ones, even the ones in the comic books, you should say, is their personalities are all big. That is like the definition of this character, is like he is taking control of every scene that he's in. He's enigmatic, he's evil, he's cruel, he's
he thinks he's funny because he's a Joker.
Yes, exactly. So what happens when you put multiple of them on screen, right? That's going to be insanity. And also, like, does this mean Leto's Joker is going to pop up? What, Heath Ledger's Joker's
No Way Home? Oh, my God.
I would think Heath Ledger's Joker would be off of the table. I mean, just awful. I mean, almost just out of respect for the late actor, and then also just the quality of the character that he performed. I don't think that needs to be jumping around. But I mean, would you bring back Jack Nicholson? Like, is that
Cesar Romero from the '60s? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you just kind of maybe invent some new Jokers just because, like, if these are going to be like different Earths, just kind of like overlapping each other in some sort of crazy event, right? You know, there's a lot of chances it could be Jokers that we've never seen before. I mean, as much as I don't know if this is the best idea, it would be a fun way to bring in some alternate comic book Jokers that we may have never seen before on screen, right? Like there's that crazy Joker that wears like a skin mask. You know, I feel like there's never going to be a movie that incorporates that tactfully, so maybe they just throw it in as a cameo.
The Arkham game universe. Now here's the thing. You brought up a good point. There's two things I could think of this doing, Mike, okay? Number one is this how they bring the Joker into the DC extended universe by the Flashpoint merging Jokers, right? Now, that would take this very grounded movie and take it in a whole different aspect, which is out there. Now, if we take the grounded movie, what if it's the Joker personality has become so big in this world that, like, everyone's like, oh, no, I'm the real Joker. And then, like, other people are like, no, I'm the real Joker. I'm the boss here. And it becomes like war of Jokers, if you will, trying to, like, no, I'm the real one.
I mean, that would be crazy. One thing that's funny to imagine is if you think of Joaquin Phoenix's character of the Joker, like if you think of just him existing in his own movie, he would almost be unfazed jumping into another world in another dimension, right? Because he's already so detached from like reality as it is it would just be like. It'd be like a normal day for him because he doesn't know what's going on at the beginning anyway. So it would be kind of interesting to see the character flow through this insanity because I feel like he would be relatively okay with everything happening because everything's already a mess for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it could be something like that. But I mean, I don't feel like they're going to sadly jump out of the realistic groundedness of this Joker franchise. But maybe it'll be down the road. Maybe it'll be, like I said, more Jokers. Maybe we'll get a Batman or another villain.
And I feel like we should repeat. This was a rumor. Like,
huge rumor.
I don't even think this made like Variety or anything. This didn't hit any of the big publications.
Yeah. And that tells you how deep we're digging on this news every week. Folks. We were talking about the Joker movie with multiple Jokers. So there's that. Amazon is wanting this is where I'm going to not get political, but get political. Jeff Bezos wants a $10 billion bailout for his failed space company, but he just bought MGM for $8.45 billion. So this is where your tax dollars are going, folks, to help Amazon buy MGM.
And specifically James Bond, because, I mean, that's, I think, what really everybody ties MGM to.
Most of it is James Bond is probably the most lucrative franchise. They wanted, $2 billion? To put it on streaming or something, or like $5 billion or something on streaming early last year, but they didn't. They held out, so it'll be on theaters this year. But it's other franchises. I'll kind of run through here. MGM has a vast catalog with more than 4,000 films, including 12 Angry Men, Basic Instinct, Creed, which is the Rocky franchise, James Bond, Legally Blonde, Moonstruck, Poltergeist, Raging Bull, RoboCop, Rocky, Silence of the Lambs, Stargate, Thelma Louise, Tomb Raider, The Magnificent Seven, The Pink Panther, The Thomas Crown Affair, and many more icons, as well as 17,000 TV shows. And I believe this might mean episodes, including Fargo, The Handmaid's Tale, which already streams on Amazon, right? Or that's Hulu.
That's Hulu. And
Vikings that have collectively won more than 180 Academy Awards and 100 Emmys.
That's actually funny because that's a part of the story I didn't read into. I didn't realize that this was less of an acquisition for a couple big IP and more of like, oh, there's an actual catalog behind all of this. Yeah. We don't just want these characters, that we'll eventually make more stuff for and make more revenue. But this is a catalog that we can really bolster Amazon Prime with.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They'll probably all, once their contracts expire in 5 to 10 years, they'll probably all move to Amazon Prime streaming. But I mean, it's literally MGM. Again, we always think of James Bond, that's the biggest one, but like this is a huge get for Amazon across everything. So where's the Handmaid's Tale? Is that going to be on both properties? Like where are these split ones kind of going to go? But we've got a couple other films coming up called go on.
It just seems also crazy because I don't keep track of a lot of the stock tickers, if you will, but when Amazon bought Whole Foods, their stock price went up so much from the acquisition that just the valuation of their company was enough to just equal out all the money that they just spent on Whole Foods. So we could see a lot of that happening here. With Amazon. I did see that there was some sort of maybe rights issues when it comes to James Bond, because even like, because MGM, I believe, owns like the distributions and like the films themselves, but the family, the kind of what do I want to say, so like the trust of James Bond,
right? So the Broccoli family technically owns James Bond.
Yeah, like the
character. And the rights to everything as well. They just don't own the production, if you will.
Yeah, and I think they have a pretty strict rule of like the character. They want the character to exclusively kind of be in movie theaters. So, I mean, Amazon's always been pretty flexible when it comes to where things air. You know, they do want stuff on Amazon Prime, but they'll often do movie theater runs for it. So, don't be surprised if like James Bond is the only IP out of all of these that like strictly goes to movie theaters first, but maybe the next Creed or Rocky movie or whatever reboot maybe just goes to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're doing a Creed 3, I believe, to wrap that up. I mean, I expect this maybe not direct to streaming. I think this is, I mean, they want their theater money right back, right? But I think, you know, we were looking at with the 45-day window, 45 days tune into Amazon Prime. I don't tune into Amazon Prime as much as I should, probably, with all the stuff kind of on there. But, you know, this would probably, you know, a better catalog, again, of consistent catalog would be and a
better user interface,
yeah.
Bezos. Like, you got all this freaking money, like, just go hire, you don't even need to hire a team, just hire, like, one person to just kind of thoughtfully think through how this app should work, and just do that, with just, like, it's pocket change for you, just make this compete already with all of the other people out there making apps. Ugh, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree. I can't stand Amazon's interface either. So, but yeah, if they're adding more stuff to it, maybe they'll put more money into that too. Maybe just a little bit of money into the user interface. Do a study. Ask some people. Ask us. We'll tell you. This is where it sucks. But yeah, so that's again, it sucks that you know, we're gonna get down to where we have just as many streaming choices as we do everything else. But I'm pretty sure everyone has a Prime account, so we'll do that. Lastly, Amazon has debuted another trailer for an upcoming Chris Pratt movie going straight to streaming called The Tomorrow War. We got our first trailer for this, and we have said multiple. We talked about this a little bit before the show because Mike, I believe you just watched it for the first time before this, right? It very much is a sci-fi action film that looks generic as other, but it's got Chris Pratt playing, you know, Chris Pratt in this, and it's got like a little bit of a live, die, repeat for me in that. But you said it looked like you told me to remind you what it was. But.
It feels like a dystopian kind of teenage story, but they cast Chris Pratt instead of a teenager for it. And this also kind of feels like one of those like strategic acquisitions, right? You know, like back in the day when Netflix was just like, oh yeah, we haven't really released any big original, like big budget movies. Let's just go acquire some stuff that looks really fancy, but like we got it cheap because they knew it wasn't going to do very well in theaters. And I'm kind of getting the vibes off of this one, right? Like the trailer is very plot heavy. Chris Pratt is saying like very canned lines of just like, I need to save the future to save my family. And even some of the shots kind of look generic at the beginning. I don't really know how else to say it, but later on there is some spectacle, there is some big action. I always like seeing money spent on the screen just out of pure curiosity. So maybe I'll get around to watching it, but I would not be surprised at all if this was just like really bad.
Yeah. It's probably going to be generic. I feel like it's going to be one of those, it'll probably have some good things. Again, watching The Quiet Place 2 with aliens, they kind of look like the aliens from there. But it also reminds me literally of the aliens of Live, Die, Repeat that Tom Cruise was fighting.
Yeah, there's like aliens always seem to have tentacles in movies nowadays, right?
Yeah, like long arms, very, very skinny stuff. But it looks like also, again, we get to see J.K. Simmons. I believe one of those photos where he was getting buff was for this movie or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I liked his beard.
But I think the trailer gives me think like this is about going to the future to fight a war where humanity was, you know, kind of wiped out or will be wiped out. But the end looks like he's like, oh, we can start this war before it happens. I believe he's going to go back to the past and do something to prevent this war from coming.
The trailer's also kind of odd because there's a very comedic actor next to Chris Pratt in this film. I don't know the guy's name, but he's kind of like the bald guy who's like struggling to load his gun in the trailer, and it's hilarious because he is in one of my favorite sketch shows that I'm desperately waiting for a second season on Netflix called I Think You Should Leave, and he does a sketch in there where he plays like a military robot mech fighter from the future, and it's a hilarious sketch, and I just cannot disconnect his face from like just laughing. So whenever his like face shows up in this trailer, I can't take it very seriously. So a lot piques my interest because, like I said, it's very plot heavy. They talk about a lot of plot elements, all these different gimmicks and gizmos and things that make the plot work. And I'm like, okay, I think I'll show up for that, but I won't be surprised if this has like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, thankfully, we already have Amazon. We don't have to pay to watch it in theaters. It was originally owned, was going to be distributed by Paramount at Christmas of last year. But due to the pandemic, was rescheduled to July of this year and then purchased by Amazon in January of this year. Or I guess, they were talking about earlier this year. So looks like it's just one of those movies that was going to be in theaters and they just bought it. So maybe it was cheap. Maybe it'll suck. I don't know. We'll find out pretty soon. It can't be worse than some other movies I watched on streaming services recently. For sure. But check it out. Trailer is in the show notes. We got that going for us. Mike, it's Monday night. I'm going to eat some dinner, get ready for the Spider-Man trailer that's inevitably going to drop tomorrow. And we can reconvene next week, but if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
Oh, I love catch up. I put it on everything. You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. I promise to put more content up as soon as I get my house in livable condition. I promise, people. Pump your brakes. But people know more about the show, what we're doing. We have probably some reviews coming up. I think movie season's about to kick off, Mike, right? We're a little far away. I mean, we do Loki in the show, but, Black Widow's around the corner in about a little over a month. So people know more about that stuff. Where can they find all of our episodes at?
Well, it's so easy to do, Chris. It's so simple. Just head on over to superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to see that bizarre trailer that we were just talking about for the Tomorrow War, it's kind of giving me vibes of also, what was that, Battle for L.A.? I don't know.
I watched Battle for L.A. It doesn't give me that. That's not that bad.
Battle for L.A. vibes. But you can find that at superheroslate.com. You can get us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out. Do you think the Joker movie should have multiple Jokers? What's the maximum number of Jokers that you think would be acceptable, and what's the minimum amount of Jokers that would be acceptable if they feel like they have to put another one in it, right? Like 2 seems like not enough. I feel like you got to go at least rules of 3 with these Jokers. Like give me at least 3 Jokers if there's going to be multiples at all. But reach out, let us know what you think about all this crazy stuff that we talk about every week. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, we love our super fans. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, go get yourself vaccinated so we can all go back to the movie theaters. And we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
I had all 3 varieties of Coke and coffee. Vanilla, caramel, and dark blend.
I thought you weren't a coffee person. Do I just
I'm
keep
not
forgetting about your coffee?
No, I don't like coffee.